In today's video, I'm going to be talking about Kriya Yoga, discussing what its components are, what it is, and how it helps us to diminish the obstacles that come up when we're trying to attain the goal of meditation, which is Samadhi. Kriya Yoga comes from the second pada in the Yoga Sutras, which is called Sadhana pada. Sadhana is our spiritual practice that we do every day. It's like a tool to help us attain the goal that we're seeking. So the Yoga Sutras are split up into four pieces. The first piece is called Samadhi pada. Samadhi is that goal of meditation, which I'll talk a little bit more about later in this video. And then sadhana, like I said, is our spiritual practice. And this section begins with something called Kriya Yoga, which is Kriya is like an action that you take. Kriya really means action and is rooted in the idea of like a ritual action. So this is just our daily, what we dedicate ourselves to. And in this book, he describes Kriya Yoga as the components are Tapas, Svadhyaya, and Ishvara Pranidhana. On this channel, I've already discussed these three topics kind of in detail. So I'll post those in the description so you can get all of that. But I will go over them a little bit in this video as well. And then we'll kind of bring it together, combine it, and I'll go over the second verse as well, which is why do we practice these? It's to attain Samadhi. You may or may not know that there are so many different types of yoga. You may even have heard of Kriya Yoga before. There is a Kriya Yoga that is similar to Kundalini Yoga, that is like a physical practice. That's different than what I'm discussing today. What I'm discussing today is what's listed out in the Yoga Sutras. So it's a little bit different than that. But there's like hundreds, if not thousands, of different types of yoga because it's a science. It keeps evolving, and each different branch of the tree is like they just call it something different because they treat it differently, and they do different things to attain the similar goal at least. None of these paths are wrong and none of them are right either. We don't know which one is like it's not like any of them could be wrong. It's just that which one is correct for the individual practitioner, right? So we're all so different. We're going to react differently to different types of yoga. We're going to be drawn more to one type of yoga over another. But Kriya Yoga is part of what he's called Raja Yoga, which is a royal yoga. So these three are also a part of Ashtanga Yoga, or the 8 limbs of yoga. They're three of the niyamas, which I've already kind of talked a little bit about in those individual videos. So again, check those out if you haven't. So the practices contained in this Kriya Yoga are really internalized practices. They're things that like you just do, you can do them mentally, or I'll give you practical ways to practice them, especially with the journal, just to get them out on paper and work with them a little bit better. But a lot of this is just internal spiritual work. So that's what we'll be kind of going over today. When I'm in this committed state of Kriya Yoga, I'm constantly challenging myself, challenging my own beliefs, and learning and growing from that, and really dedicating myself to my practice. And this, it just helps me to grow. And you'll realize that you alone are responsible for your own growth. So you have to do the work, right? You have to go through and like study yourself. That's Svadhyaya. You have to challenge your old beliefs. That can be a form of tapas. And just dedicate yourself to your practice. as Ishvara Pranidhana, the surrender to the flow of life or surrender to the higher power, to your higher self. With this continued practice, you'll see little shifts in your day-to-day life that will just like add up. They add up really fast. And if you kind of slow down, or if you're like you decide to stop your practice, it can quickly spiral down into like a more unconscious state. And it's sometimes amazing how quickly that can come about, where you realize, oh, I'm not thinking about or I'm not being mindful right now. It just quickly just overcomes you. And It's called the Maya energy in yoga. It's the material energies, like the what our five senses can see. They're so distracting, and the mind is just like just going like crazy, like a monkey mind. I love to call it a monkey mind. Um, It'll just go and go and go, and then you'll go on autopilot again. You'll be like, oh, wait, what about my yoga? Why wasn't I in that moment? Um, and just this ritual practice every day, this really helps to balance you out, and it'll cause a ripple effect into your daily life. Um, to where eventually, instead of being a person who is practicing mindfulness, you just become a mindful person. And that's what we strive to go towards. So now I'm going to go over the key components of Kriya Yoga. If you want to see the longer form videos, I am posting those in the description again. So just check those out anytime you like. Otherwise, if you missed them, I'm going to go ahead and go over them briefly now. So the first one, tapas. Tapas is heat. It's like a fire. It's like a purification process. So you're really you're accepting life's challenges as teachers, and you're consistently challenging yourself as well. So tapas can happen just on day to day when something comes up that you weren't expecting, or you can be putting this on yourself as you're changing habits. When you're shifting from one habit to another, sometimes the ego doesn't like that. We like to stay in our own way. We're like, oh no, we were doing it this way all along, and it was not the best, but it was all right. So let's just keep doing it that way instead of shifting over there. That seems kind of hard, and I don't know if I want to do that. You're challenging yourself to make that shift brings up like a lot of energy within you. It's not always super comfortable, but you have to go through that to really change and transform. Um, I was thinking of like the almost classic example at this point, the butterfly, right? The caterpillar goes into its chrysalis and it turns all the way into goop. It melts itself all the way down. I'm sure that's not comfortable for it, but it has to trust the process and just allow that to occur. And as you continue to take on these challenges, to allow it to be and to go through it anyway, it's kind of like working out. You get used to it, or you're able to take more on, you're able to shift deeper into something as you keep doing it, as long as you keep doing it. That's the importance of the consistent practice here. So the next one is Svadhyaya. This is the study of the self. This can be practiced in a couple of different ways. It can be translated in a couple of different ways, right? So one of the ways that I see it translated often is recitation. So usually by chanting Om, or by reciting other Vedic scriptures. Um, this is the study of the higher mind, really studying the spiritual self and like our inner being. But another way to think of Svadhyaya is to study yourself the way you are now, right? So taking a look at your regular patterns and noticing those. And the best way to practice this is through daily journaling. You'll be able to take note of what your patterns are on a day-to-day basis, and eventually you'll be able to bring mindfulness into those patterns as you start to recognize them happening instead of just going about it unconsciously, just being reactionary instead of responding to a situation in a way that you would even prefer. Um, if you're trying to change again, your mind doesn't like that. Your mind wants to do it the old way. So to change and to do that a different way, it's a bit challenging, but you can bring your mind into it. And through consistent practice, you can really focus on making that change for yourself and for others around you as well. The third component of Kriya Yoga is Ishvara Pranidhana. This is surrender to the flow of life, surrender to a higher power, surrender to the divine. This really helps you practice not being attached to the things in this world, to realize that everything has its purpose, kind of let yourself float along, like instead of trying to swim up the river, just allowing yourself to float down the river. Um, and not to say that it's like an easy float, right? There might be currents and it might be crazy, but still floating along with that current is still going to be easier than trying to float against it, especially in that situation when it's really rough. So Kriya Yoga, as a combination of those three pieces, is designed to really help us bring mindfulness and intention and dedication to our lives, really. The easiest way to change an old habit is to replace it rather than just like having nothing there. Even though you're kind of technically in some situations having nothing there, right? Having a meditation there, which is not action, so it's different. But bringing a ritualistic practice into your life can help you make changes in your other habits as well. You can say, oh, well, I'm going to take time now to breathe instead of doing whatever your go-to habit might be at that time. Maybe you're trying to quit smoking or something like that. Just like have a meditation practice or have a asana practice during that time instead. In some situations that doesn't work, but having a deep breath or doing something that would replace that situation would like really help you move forward. I've stressed before on this channel about how you want to really be enthusiastic about what you're doing. You want to have a practice that you're like excited to do. You can't make it just like a chore that you're doing because someone told you that it might make you feel better or it might, do something for you. You have to, you get to really enjoy the process. And that's another reason why, like in the beginning of the video, I mentioned there's like hundreds and thousands of different types of yoga things you can do to practice. So find what works for you. That's the most important step, really. And then you can be consistent with it, dedicate yourself to it. Um, and it's like this ritualistic practice. It's not just about the like ritualistic as in consistent and daily and like all the time, like quantity. It's about the dedication to it. How does it make you feel when you practice? Um, and that's really a really big part of it. You have to have your heart in it. Practicing in a ritualistic manner is not just about frequency, it's about reverence. So it's about how it makes you feel. So the goal in yoga can't really be accomplished all at once. We really have to peel ourselves peel off the obstacles off like an onion. Like the layers have to come off one at a time or gradually, just cleaning ourselves off, purifying ourselves through tapas, and really studying and examining to make sure that we don't go back. Because that, like I said, that can be really easy to do. Just go back. Is what the mind is used to. Just go back to what autopilot again. Um, you have to, you get to be dedicated to what you're doing. And this will help you really purify yourself and attain the goal of yoga and really go really deep into your meditation. So these three principles really work well together as you're practicing tapas to continue challenging yourself, Svadhyaya to study what was going on, what patterns were coming up, and then Ishvara Pranidhana really will help you forgive yourself for all of the patterning and all of that. Just realize that's just your subconscious. It's going to take a while to get over it, and everything is going to be fine. Just surrender to the process. So I've mentioned Samadhi a few times in this video, and now I'm going to kind of go over what that is. What Kriya Yoga is designed to do is to eliminate the obstacles so we can experience Samadhi. Samadhi is really deep inside of us. It's our natural state of being. It's this deep meditative state that is our pure essence, who we are. This is the goal of meditation. And this is actually what the first part of the Yoga Sutras is about. I will be talking about it more on this channel once I gain more experience on it. Right now, if I would talk too much about Samadhi, it would just be book knowledge, which is great and it's very interesting. So if you do want to learn just the book knowledge, I'll share it with you. But I would prefer to get more experience with it because there's like different layers of Samadhi that he talks about in here. And it's just very interesting. And I hope to, I mean, my main goal is to experience those and share it with you all. But as for right now, going over the obstacles that are in the way, because that will help all of us along this path. So, but to talk about Samadhi, I want to talk about, or I want to read one of the verses that talks about it, and I love this verse. It's 1.41, which reads, just as the naturally pure crystal assumes shapes and colors of objects placed near it, so the yogi's mind, with this totally weakened modification, becomes clear and balanced, and attains the state devoid of differentiation between knower, knowable, and knowledge. This culmination of meditation is Samadhi, right? So that's very deep. And it's important to notice that it's not like, again, it's not something that you're looking for outside of you. It's already inside. It's just you have to clear all of the stuff that the mind is doing, and these are the obstacles that I'm talking about. So as we continue to practice Kriya Yoga, we're getting more mindful during our day. So instead of meditation being like, oh, this is the part of the day where I'm going to be mindful. No, this is the part of the day where I'm going to go even deeper than I do in my normal, regular day-to-day. So that's how we can get even deeper into that state of Samadhi. So in the next video, I'm going to be going over the kleshas, which are another set of obstacles that is listed out in here that Kriya Yoga is specifically designed to help you alleviate and remove from the mind. These ones are called ignorance, egoism, attachment, aversion, and clinging to bodily life. So we'll be going over those in detail in the next video. I just wanted to go through the first two pieces of the very beginning of Sadhana Pada. So to close this video out, I'm going to give you two big practical tools to really incorporate Kriya Yoga into your life. And this will kind of bring all three of them together, all in the same practices. So these are things that I've discussed in this video already and multiple times on this channel. First one, of course, being meditation. Having your meditation practice can be your like ritual action that you come to every day. Really dedicate yourself to a moment of stillness, whether you want to do you can do a breathing exercise or start with guided meditations like I've done on this channel. I also recently did a daily meditation. It's just called daily meditation. I'll put it in the description as just a 5-minute meditation um, that you can do on a daily basis to really help you get into that stillness. And the second one being journaling. I always do my journaling at night, right before bed, just to get everything out of my head and onto paper. So that way I can not think about it at night, right? And when you do this on a daily basis, it's easier to recognize what comes up. This is, I know I mentioned it when I was talking about Svadhyaya specifically, because when you're writing about your day, you're really able to look at it and be like, oh, that's what I did, huh? Well, that's interesting, isn't it? And then as you continue to dedicate yourself to this, when you're in those situations that you like wrote about in your journal a couple of days ago, then you can be like, oh, well, I did it this way recently. Maybe I should do it a different way today. And you can begin to shift again, bringing the mindfulness into your daily life. Um, and you can write out goals in your journal too to help with tapas. Bringing up what is it that you want to shift specifically in your day to day, or what is something that you want to try? Um, Anything, a lot of things that can come up. And the daily journaling practice, it really can turn your whole life into a meditative practice, basically. And everything kind of merges together into like everything is the mindfulness thing, right? Because you're writing everything down in your journal, hopefully, and then it's part of your spiritual practice. Of course, you can incorporate other practices in this, maybe breath work. Breath work is wonderful for the energy body. Asana is wonderful for the energy body. Um, Asana is really helpful for meditation as well. Um, the, the main reason I really practice it is for the body pains that I experience, especially if you try to sit for a long time. If you haven't been moving around much, maybe you sit down a lot. You could experience some pain, especially in the back or the low back, maybe the knees. If you're strengthening these and stretching out your muscles consistently, then you won't have as much pain during your practice. Depending on how long you sit, you might still experience something, but you're supposed to try to be beyond that, right? That's the state of samadhi where you're not even thinking about the body. You're just ultimately in your bliss state. So that's about all I have for you for this video today. If you have any questions, please let me know. Just reach out in the comments or connect on Facebook. I'm going to be here for you. Yeah, definitely check the description box for additional resources and also free content and ways to connect with me. And I'll see you later in the next video. I'll be going deeper into the Sadhanapada and talking about those obstacles I brought up. I'll see you then. Namaste.